saudara-saudara dan yang pada hari Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad alladhi lam yusalli zaini zaini dan semua musbat. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad al-Kadir al-Qadir al-Qadir al-Sabah والناصرين المؤمنين والهادي إلى صراط المستقيم وعلى آله وصحبه الأقوام وجلده ومن شريعة Alhamdulillah, thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. I am Dr. Farah Rahida, can call me Dr. Farah. I'm the Deputy Director for the Innovation and Commercial Development RMC. I will be the moderator of today's events. Okay. On behalf of RMC IIUM, we are very pleased to have our fellow colleagues, and some of you are our PhD or postgraduate students. Okay. That shows very keen interest in these important training of the trainer events. Okay. I am sure that you will be enriched with knowledge after completion of these events. For your info, this workshop is a hybrid session. We have with us basically at Kuliah Accountancy today, I think about 20 participants that registered, and virtually with Zoom. Alhamdulillah, we are fortunate to have Associate Professor Dr. Abdul Karim, who has a deep experience in drafting his own paper and my classroom. Okay. And he actually has been submitting directly his patent submission, do everything by his own, directly to MyIPO, and all this cost him only 300 ringgit Malaysian, as opposed to what we have been paying patent agents around 6,000 ringgit Malaysia, 67,000 ringgit Malaysia per patent submission. Okay. We anticipate that some or all of us here be able to draft our own patent, or if they're postgraduate, will be able to assist their own binders or main event, right? And we are able to cut down huge amount of money from our IIUM. Okay. And inshallah, we also will get a discounted fees from the patent agents, so that we can save a lot. Okay, without further ado, allow me to read biography of our training today. Our Associate Professor, Dr. Abdul Muhim, is a pharmacist specialized in pharmaceutical technology and previous head of quality assurance at ICOP, right? Okay, ICOP is the IIM subsidiary. We have our plant here, and he has extensive research experience, specialization in pharmaceutical technology, nanotechnology, microencapsulation, nanoparticle research, electrospray technology, and drug formulation, drug manufacturing and formulation for the delivery drug delivery system. Okay, his professional experience is on 3D printings. He has extensive exposure on lab automation, sensors, and coding, and proven ability in designing and managing innovative award-winning research projects with knowledge in various research methods and techniques. Okay, he's also an expert in applying for and securing prestigious research grants. He also holder of several Malaysian intellectual properties, including several patents, utility, innovations, and copyrights. Expert in patent drafting, especially in the pharmaceutical and biomedical science. He also has received an extensive training in the pharmaceutical industry and patent filing from MyIPO. Okay, with that, allow me to pass Dr. Mu'im right away to begin our first session this morning. We sincerely pray and hope that everyone could benefit immensely from this good day's workshop and enjoy this training very much. Last but not least, the training slides, I think most of you have already received, and other resources will be given in soft copies. So we are paperless, okay? And to those that have filled out the registration link, Brother Ami, our Senior Assistant Director, I will send the link of registration at the chat. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much for and you first, Dr. Farah and IIUM for inviting me to this to give this training. Just to share, I am UAE product. I did my master and PhD here in UAE since 2010 under Dr. Farah supervision, my supervisor. And after that, I started my work here in UAE from 2014 as assistant professor until last year, 2022. I was also the head of quality assurance in MyIPO, and alhamdulillah, secured few grants and I filed few patents. I started this patent interest actually UAE one time in, about after I think in 2016, they have this idea and they sent 16 staff to MyIPO to attend the first training, patent drafting series was first training. But unfortunately, no follow-up after that. But the idea was there since 2016. I was one of the attendees. From then on, I continue myself. I attended all the training provided by MyIPO, which is about four courses. In total, it's about 1 month. Total training in MyIPO to finish all the courses will take about 4 weeks. So now my task is to transfer this one back to UAE, but I need to squeeze it in 2 days. So I'll try to give it directly and not to go beyond the. I'm sure somehow, maybe to some extent, I know what is the scope of the patents in UAE, so I will not go much beyond that one because the time is not allowed to go like the training in UAE, in MyIPO. As I mentioned, it takes about 4 weeks to finish all the training in MyIPO. So I try to direct it directly towards the objective of this training. Okay. Without more delay, let me share the first the planning first. I'll share. Okay, I think we need to share our screen first. Okay, just to remind of our flow of the training. First, we will go through patent registration procedure. This one is usually given late in the trainings, but I want to start it in the beginning so that you know how is the technical procedure of applying to the patent. Then there will be several names and forms, something will be not clear, that we will clarify them throughout the training, so that when we talk during the training, you know where is the location of this part in the application. So that's why I want to start straightforward with the registration procedure. Don't worry, there will be a lot of gaps in the knowledge here, but later when we start other lectures, you will know what is each part. Then we will go through the system of patent in Malaysia. After that, we spend quite some time for understanding the patentability. Then a short time for patent search, which many of you already know because you are lecturers, you know how to do literature search. Just that how to twist it to become a patent search. Tomorrow, inshallah, will be a little bit some hands-on, or we will try to take some actual cases, your ideas of what you want to patent, and we try to learn the patent drafting format and procedure, and we take some few examples from you, and we try to discuss actual cases after lunch, inshallah. So this is our flow. Okay, so our beginning will be in this. Okay, one moment, please, because I want to share the whole screen, not only the. Okay. So we will start with this patent registration procedure. First of all, can we have some idea about our entity from which fields, sisters, doctors? From science. Which department? Chemistry. Very difficult to draft a patent. Basic medical science. Okay. Doctor? Oh, combat. Dr. Farad, the pharmacy. I'm taking our department. How you student? So definitely you will draft one that is Dr. Pamtic, Unisa. Department of Marine Science. Nursing. Prof. Tahir, Pharmaceutical Technology. Dr. Rushdie, Pharmaceutical Technology. Dr. Hamza, Pharmaceutical Technology. Dr. Hilal, Physical Chemistry. Doctors. College of Medicine. Under Professory. Okay, send greeting. Doctors in us? College of Science. Okay. So we have basically majority from Kuantan campus. Our online, anyone online can share?
Yes, is Prof. Miftah from College of Engineering.
From engineering, we have from College of Engineering.
Yes, you have myself, Prof. Miftah, and Prof. Zahangir.
Because majority of the patents, we directly think about engineering.
Yes.
Even examples go to the engineering directly. Okay. Okay, just a short disclaimer that I'm not patent agent, not claiming any patent agent, just giving the training that I received from MyIPO, just giving it back to TOT. The information here is general knowledge. You cannot get it as legal purpose, meaning that if you want to draft patent, take them for knowledge, but always refer back to the guideline. and the law, because I will share what is the law that in practice. So if always go back and check the law directly, because it's always updated. It could be very frequently updated. So you need some information, especially with patentability, will change from time to time. And they are here. Some of them are my own opinion, my own here. It's not like something legal or legal purpose. And some part already I took from the training that I received directly. So there will be some slides from the training directly. Okay, before that, also want to clarify about the scope of this training. First of all, I think we always sometimes get headache of if we want to draft patent, for example, and want to enter this area directly, you always will feel that you are quite far from what is drafted in the, when you read patent, download patent from online, you see it very high end. Don't worry. That one, of course, they attend so many training and they already got to know a lot of laws and regulations. So here, I always prefer to define myself in this field. What is myself? If I am pharmaceutical technology, I will be the creator, meaning that I should be able to create something from nothing. So I will always try to be the best in that field. I do not accept to take and copy and modify something like this. But in this field, this is not my main field, not the major field. Similar to, if I have interest in electronics, programming, sensors, and so on. This is also not my major field. So I define myself as a user. If you are a user, don't expect yourself to start something from scratch. So always get something ready and understand it, modify it, and fit it in to your purpose. Even in my Odoo programming, I do not start programming from scratch. I just take codes from the online, but I do understand the codes because I already got training and so on, and re-modify them to fit to my project. Same here, take patterns from online, take templates, take examples that take something very similar to your scope, understand it, modify it to your pattern. Don't be shy to do this, because you are a user. You are a user for this knowledge, not a creator. The creator is the patent agent who got so many years of training. So I think this one will reduce your stress and headache. Just accept that you take something ready and modify it. And now I think also in UIA we got quite a good database of Dr. Farah unit can combine. We have successful patents already drafted in Malaysia and applied, and we already have them for all the fields. So I think we can provide them so that you can see how it works in Malaysia, then modify it according to you, or make it as a template for you, and start from that point. No need to start from really scratch. So here we need to, our objective to create the knowledge of patents, and we try to increase the number of patents. And here also you need to know the limitations of the patent you draft. It's not as good, the one that we draft by ourselves, is not as good as the one that drafted by patent agent in terms of legal language. Okay, so if your patent has very high potential for commercialization, meaning that very high, really very high, better to send it to the patent agent, or at least to review it by patent agent. But if your patent is not to that limit, okay, you will draft your patent yourself and apply it, and you will get the patent. Of course, first of all, we need the patent itself. Other than that, you will get all the what we call the credits and so on to you and to the university. And the cost, of course, is sometimes it's just 10% of the total cost of them using patent agent. So by this way, we UIA can rationalize the use of the allocated money so that you can file 3 or 4 or 5 times the number of patents, but keeping the very high potential patents to be reviewed by patent agents. I think this is a limitation we need to understand, because all of us, we are quite new to this one. and how far we go will not reach the limit of patentation, because sometimes a simple word will actually, you will see that the one word will break completely your patent. So if your patent is really commercializable and high profit, spend some money to review it by patentation. But if it's not to that one, you do it yourself. And MyIPO encourage a lot to do it yourself patent, because also they want to increase the number of patents applied to MyIPO. First, of course, this is a credit for, in general knowledge good for the nation, and credit for the country, because the number of patents applied, you can, they compare the countries in terms of this, what we call the innovations of the nations, also compared by the number of patents, one criteria. And also it's income for MyIPO as well, because you need to continuously pay the maintenance and the fees and so on. So you need to also understand this scope of this training. Okay, after this introduction, let's also clarify some misconception. I want to start with them so that we need to understand what is the patent first. The patent, basically, it's actually it's like a property, but it's they call it intangible property, something you cannot touch. But it's like a property, exactly like your home, like your car, and so on. And you need to distinguish between patent and publication. This is a very important criteria to distinguish. If you look at the word publication, have you noticed from which origin it comes? What is the origin of the word publication? The root of publication, public. It's public, meaning that you are giving something to the public, free of charge. This is the name of the concept of publication. Once you give it free to the people, free of charge, you cannot patent it, because the patent is a property. It's only for you. It's something like monopoly. The patent is a monopoly. So if you give it to the public, you cannot patent it. You need to understand this concept. And of course, there is something to this limit is used to call it trade secret. Trade secret is something you do not disclose at all, not to the public, not even to the MyIPO. Okay, so this is the need to distinguish between these three terms. If you have something very secret, you don't want anyone to know it, like the one that is very common is the receipt of Coca-Cola. It's a trade secret. No one knows what is that one. So it's not in the publication, not even in the patent. Publication is something you give free of charge to the people. So this is the publication. Whether it's in magazine, whether it's in a journal publication, other features. So this is the concept of publication. But patent basically is a monopoly. But why we need to disclose to the MyIPO? Because actually it's an agreement between you and the government. To disclose everything to the government, then they will give you monopoly for specific time, 20 years. So they will give you monopoly for 20 years. Only you can use this patent, provided that you disclose it to the nation. After 20 years, everyone can copy it. So this is the concept of patent. It's an agreement between you and the government. You disclose it in a way that anyone can copy it, because you need to disclose it in a sufficient way. Sometimes in our publication, we do not disclose our method to that limit. But you see in the patent, you need to disclose it in very details. Like anyone in this art, in your film, should be able to copy it. But on behalf, on written, the government will give you monopoly for 20 years. No one can use your patent for 20 years. Okay, the second, I think this common or very common misconception: if I patent something, I can commercialize it. Do you think this one is correct? Or what is your understanding now? If you patent your product, you can commercialize it. You think so? Are you understanding now? think majority we think like this, but it's not the truth, because your patent actually may be a small scope of other bigger patent. So you can patent you will get your patent approved, granted. Doesn't mean that you can commercialize it directly. You need to check, maybe your patent is part of a bigger patent, something like this. Then you need to get license from that one. We'll see later in the patentability, if there is a patent for wide scope. For example, just a general example, the use of temperature. Someone patented the use of temperature between 0 to 100. Then you patent something between 25 to 30. You will get patent granted, but does it mean you can use it? Because your patent is part of the bigger patent. You are still under that scope. To use your patent, you need to get license from them. So this is a very common misconception. There is sometimes patent agents ask you, there is patent search, and there is another search for, they call it right for free for commercialization or something like this. So there is a search to do the patent to be granted, and there is another search to do if you are able to commercialize it directly or you need to get other license. Okay, so this is a very common misconception also we need to understand. So the references that you need to refer back, actually there are two main references. If you want the legal references, the first one is the patent law. The law of Malaysia, Patent Act, we call it Patent Act. It's part of the law of Malaysia. This is our main source because it's under the law. So anything here go to the court. You can bring anything here under the court. And Malaysia, one of the few countries that they have a patent court. Some other countries, or majority, they have the normal court will handle the patent issues. In Malaysia, we have the patent court. But globally, most of the patent problems, they don't go to the court. They do for resolution. They do some kind of side agreements. It's more common than going to the court all over the world. Always you hear Samsung and Apple, they do some kind of agreement. They don't go to the court. They do resolution. And there is under European Patent Office, there is special offices for resolution. The original ones in Singapore for resolving the patent problems. So rarely they go to the court. Then we have also the patent regulation. Patent regulation is different from patent act. So patent regulation is more on how to draft the patent, the technical issues, the punctuation, where to use the dividing the paragraphs and so on. So patent regulation is more on technical. Patent act is a law, this kind of law. Then the directive is where you can find all the forms and fees and so on. So the most updated one is this one, the directive, because it's commonly they change the forms, they change the fees and so on. Less updated patent regulation and much lower in updating is the patent act. So you can refer to the MyIPO website, MyIPO, Malaysian International Intellectual Property Organization, where you can find all the information. Actually, we will go to the website and check it after. This is the flow chart of patent application. Basically, let me try to open it from my website directly. Maybe we can get it. This is my website. If you go to the homepage, this one, then under these subtitles, you can find patent, trademark, industrial design, geographic indications, copyright, and IC layout design. Basically, this is all the IP types that you can find in Malaysia. So if you go to the patent, under the patent, slightly slow. Okay, under the patent, there is some general knowledge, understanding the patent and so on, how to apply for the patent or utility innovation, and then managing the patent. Applying for patent, filing patent manually, because now we have manual and online. So, you can open it directly from the PDF file so that it becomes easier. Actually, we send it in the email already. This one is not available. It's okay. Okay, so the flow chart of patent application. In the beginning, after you prepare all the documents, we will see in this training how to prepare the documents. You file your application, you pay for Form 1 and Form 14 if you have a patent agent, but it's not required if you file it yourself. So you can file the patent. If it's complete directly, you will get the date of filing directly. When you give it within 15 minutes after the registrar check, they will issue you the receipt and the date of filing and the filing number. And the good in Kuantan that we have office for MyIPO. MyIPO got the main office in Kuala Lumpur, but got few other offices in different states. But this office is only for collecting the applications. So you can file it in Kuantan. I have filed more than one in Kuantan. So you can prepare all your documents and send it to MyIPO office. In MyIPO office, you know where it is? In between Kuantan City Mall and Mega Mall on this road. Yeah. Near, where is that? Yeah, that one in front of Old Town. No, not sure. So everyone will mark it according to what we do there. So drink an Old Town coffee. So in front of Old Town, the one that is in front of Mega Mall, directly. Yeah, there. So my office is there. So you can basically take all the papers and submit there. In 15 minutes, you will get patent application number. This is for if you hire a patent agent. So you need to. We will do it also for this. So if just look at this line. If the form and everything is complete and the format is correct and everything. Sorry, if just the forms and everything complete, they will give you the receipt of filing, only the receipt and the filing number, and you will get the filing date here directly. Then there is a preliminary examination. This preliminary examination is only for the technical and format, nothing what is inside. They will not read what is inside, just technical and format, the number of pages, the form all completed, no missing information, and so on. So if the preliminary examination is complete, then it starts now counting 18 months. During this 18 months, actually nothing will happen. 18 months of waiting, this is compulsory waiting, 18 months. And it's quite global. This is quite general, all over the world, almost the same. You'll see later why it's same. So 18 months from the priority date or the filing date, nothing will happen. But during this 18 months, you should submit a request for substantive examination. This request, you need to submit it within the 18 months. No need to submit it actually during the filing date. This is another cost, 1,100. So if you want the patent to continue, but if you decide that within this 18 months no one will use the patent, actually no need to submit this one, and the patent is considered withdrawn. So you have 18 months to decide if you want to continue or not. Okay, if you submit the request for substantive examination, then after 18 months, it will start substantive examination. Maybe not 18 months, maybe more than 18 months, depends on the queue in the MyIPO. Last time, waiting time was about 3 years until they start the real examination. But you need to submit the form within 18 months. After that, after substantive examination, if the patent is okay, no corresponding, but this is very rare, they will issue you granting that they will grant you the patent. So it will take about 3 to 5 years in total. Okay, so now if we go to the second line, of course, in the application, if there is something not correct, you have 3 months to do the correction, but this is only on the formatting and technical. It's really not a big problem. Okay, here also, if after preliminary examination, if there is any correction requested, they will send you and need to reply within 3 months. So that is more on technical. This is really not a big problem. But just follow up if you receive any communication from MyIPO, from the address you receive, you need to reply. Otherwise, it will be considered refused or invalid. Okay, so if there's any letter coming to the office, please open and follow up very quickly. Otherwise, you will lose the time because the communication is quite slow. Okay, then after you submit your request for substantive examination, usually this one, or basically all the time, there will be correspondence, meaning that there will be some feedback from the examiner. It's all examiner report, examiner adverse report. They will ask you, it's not eligible for patenting, there is a problem in this one, similar to previous patent, and so on. So you have 2 months to submit the corrections, and you reply to the examiner. Usually, actually, there's a complete course only to reply to the examiner report, but we will not cover it here. This one is the most difficult part actually here, because it's like when you submit your article to the peer review, and they will reply it with the major correction. Then you need to defend yourself, or need to do the corrections and so on. But here is more problem because you cannot change anything inside the patent. There is no way to change. In our literature, in our research articles, we can add, we can delete, but here you cannot. You only can defend yourself. You can delete something, but you cannot add and modify anything. So this is the difficult part. And this is the importance why you need to submit everything complete from the beginning, because no way to change anything later. And for your knowledge, actually, patent is reviewed, examined by one examiner only. It's not like peer review 2 or 3. Only one examiner will examine your patent. Only one, but they are very well trained when that's in MyIPO. But last time we attended the patent training, and not in all fields. In pharmaceutical field, their knowledge was quite in the beginning. Actually, at that time, they have training from European office for pharmaceutical patents. So they were still quite new. So I don't be surprised if they have not much experience in a specific field. especially chemistry and pharmaceutical. And to this one also agents in Malaysia, majority, they are not expert in these fields. This is why in the beginning, when I submit my patents, when I draft them and send them to the patent agent, they reply it is just when track change is fine, just grammars and so on. They didn't do anything. This is why I decided to file myself under that, because they didn't do anything. They don't have much experience. Basically, you know the most of your patent. The one that will do the patent knows the most. So if you know how to draft it, basically you know more than the patent agent. Just a little bit touch up on the legal issues, then inshallah you can draft it yourself. So if you already convince the examiner that you are eligible for patent, they will issue you a certificate of granting, and it will be published in the Gazette. This is another flow chart. This one is they name it simplified flow chart with the timing. So file a patent or utility innovation. Utility innovation is exactly the flow, everything similar to the patent. Exactly similar. Only in the form maybe a bit different, or the form is different, and this is similar than the patent. I think form 14 for utility innovation, 17 form 14 is utility innovation, form 1 is for patent, 14 utility innovation, 17 for patent agent, and form 22 is a simple form for justifying your eligibility authority for filing something. You just need to, for stuff you are under your IIUM and you are filing under IIUM and so on. Very simple statements. So after that, so this one you can submit it in Kuantan office or in Kuala Lumpur office or any other state. Not all states have, but luckily we have in Kuala Lumpur and Kuantan. Check requirements for the application, corrections, issue certificate of filing. So usually if it's all correct, you can get it quickly within days. Sometimes preliminary examination of the, or even on the spot. Preliminary examination of application. This one is only for technical and as I mentioned, technical and formatting. Then file a request for substantive examination, 18 months. After 18 months, it will be published in MyIPO website. But only need to access it from your account. So it will be published, but not all. In Malaysia, they don't publish all the content. It's only the bibliographic information. The name and the inventor name, the applicant, the abstract only. But the complete, they don't publish in Malaysia. In the US and Europe and many other countries, they publish everything. But here, if you wanted to get the specific patent, you need to go to the MyIPO office and request it. You need to pay 10 or 20 ringgit. They will give you the patent to request. After 18 months, anyone can request any patent. Any patent. Before 18 months, only you can request your own patent to check. So after 18 months, it's named open for public inspection. So anyone can go and check, and maybe they will like try to infringe, try to invalidate your patent or something. Then substantive examination, amendment, examination continue here until it satisfies the examiner. Then granting. Then you remember that also you need to pay the renewal fees. If to maintain the patent, you need to pay the renewal fees. And this is why you can see in many applications under IUM, it's lapse, because no longer pay the maintenance fees. Because no one is using it as patent, so basically no point of keep paying the fees. So this is the flow chart of the patent. We will come back to this one at the end of the course, where we need to see the forms themselves, or to check it again after we already know the meaning of each part. So this is the, I think we can go quickly now, because the first one for manual filing, request for grant matching form 1, utility innovation form 14, the statement justifying the applicant rights to patent form 22. This one we need to submit. There is also two terms. This is from the misconception. There is applicant and there is inventor. The applicant is the one that owns the property, owns the patent, which is you are employed under IIUM and you use IIUM facility, money, grant, and so on. So the applicant is IIUM, because IIUM owns the patent, but you are the inventor. So there is applicant and there is inventor. So you are the inventor, your IIUM is the applicant. It's like your house. If you hire someone to build your house, at the end of the day, they are the builder, but you are the owner, is it? Whatever they do, the house belongs to you. So here also, the patent belongs to IIUM, but you are the inventor. And under IIUM, the scheme was anything come from the patent license and any money later will be generated. I think in IIUM, the division is 80-20. 80 to the inventor, 20 to the percent to the to IIUM. Still same? Change, because this is very generous actually, very generous. So you want to change. I know 50-50 not fair also. I think 70-30 is right. 70-30. I think 70-30 is fair, you know. 70% money generated will go to the inventor, 30% goes to the IIUM, all by IIUM. But remember that the owner is really. Oh, this is not fair at all. In Malaysia, in UAE, 80% to the inventor, 20% only to the university. But remember, anyway, the university owns the patent. You cannot do anything with the patent. You are the inventor, you get the credit, you get your name, everything, but the owner is IIUM. Sorry. Yes, yes, we will share samples and templates available. Yes, it's under the Patent Act. It's written under the Patent Act. Yes, it's in the Patent Act. We will read it after.
And it makes sense that we on the
It's okay. It's okay. Everything discussed we will come later. No problem. Even the one that's online, we will get it. So, then you need to provide the patent specification document. This is actually the difficult part. Here, where you need to draft the patent. Here, you need to provide it as an attachment to the forms. So this is the most difficult part. Then, but this 3 actually is enough to file the patent. Okay. Request for substantive examination, you can do it directly together or you can wait within 18 months to decide. So if the patent actually will, you find that no longer anyone will use it, you just ignore it. It will be deemed withdrawn and will not go for substantive examination. And actually, there is a trick some companies, big companies, electronic companies, was informed during the workshop. They do it. They do this one purposely. When it comes to patent, everything is basically by law. There is a tricks, there is a playing with words and so on. All this kind it happened in the patent. There's some companies, they do filing for the patent, but they monitor the market. If there is no competitor coming with similar technology, they don't go for examination. They withdraw it. They withdraw it and they submit it again. By this way, basically they extended their protection because the filing date become new filing date. So they said now next year, if no one is still competing them, why to start protection from 2000? Why not starting protection 2001? Then they withdraw and submit again. So by this way, they keep their eye on the market. So some of them, they do it purposely like this. So when you understand the law, actually you can protect yourself more. For online, basically you can follow it on the website. Basically same, just like you need to make an account in MyIPO. Anyone can make an account. Then you can fill up the forms online like usual, do attachment. You need to divide specifications to different files, attach them and submit them to MyIPO. You need to get your digital ID. I think this one for me, I think I wasn't able because mostly it was open only for Malaysians. So maybe you get a digital ID and do the maybe one from RMC, fill up the forms and so on. Because you need to have an account in MyIPO with a token, something like token, so that you can do the filing. So maybe the inventor write everything because filling the forms is not a big problem. Basically, if it's under IIUM, all the forms almost similar. May change the title and the inventor name and so on. But the specification part is the difficult part. So when you send the specification part to the office, basically they just need to upload it. So I think you need to get this account in MyIPO to start filing by you under do it yourself. This is an okay. So that one is the timeline. As I mentioned, it takes about 3 to 5 years. Why? Because there is almost 1.5 year compulsory waiting. I think you cannot change that one. If everything filing and everything goes very well, basically you need about 20 months, is it? Until the examination starts. After examination start, depends on the queue. Maybe they will not start after 15 months, like 2 years. Maybe they will start after 3 years. They finish examination and correspondence between you and the examiner 1 year. So you will get it granted after 4 years. But there is expedited examination. Here in the expedited examination, after 18 years, which we said no way to change that one, 18 years, there is 1 week you can submit application to request for approval for expedited examination. So form, call it form 5H, 250 ringgit, to request for approval for expedited. Within 1 week, you will get the decision approved or no. Okay. After the 18 years, you submit a form 5H to request for approval for expedited examination. There is some criteria here, like to go for commercialization quickly, there is some worry of infringement of some other parties, national security, national interest. So you need to convince the officer, the registrar, that you are eligible for expedited examination. Then within 1 week, they will give you the reply. If they approve, then you file the form 5H, which is the application for expedited examination. But here you need to pay 2,200 extra for expedited examination. Within 1 month, they will give you the examiner report. Then, of course, there will be correspondence. Let's take, it will never be granted directly. There will be, let's say, 3 months between you and the examiner to go and come back for the report. So you can get it within, like you say, 3 months, and other than that, it's about 2 months, maybe 6 months, together with 18 months. So basically about 2 years. You can say it's about 2 years, 2.5 years, you can get it granted. And that expedited examination, extra cost about 2,500 ringgit total. Okay. Okay, this is the general flow chart to file in Malaysia. So there's another chart to file outside Malaysia, but we will not cover. Let's focus on filing in Malaysia first. And okay, that's all for this part, the procedure. As I mentioned, filling the form is not a problem. The problem comes with the writing the specification, the patent, drafting the patent. This is the difficult part. And replying to the examiner later. Yes, Dr. Bilal. Yeah, we will cover it after this, the next patent law, the patent overview patent Malaysia, so that blind people can understand. We will cover this part. The question about filing in different countries, we will cover. The next take charge. Yes. After filing, yes. After filing, you can publish. We will cover it as well. But especially for research articles, there is, we call it a grace period, which is in Malaysia 1 year. Other countries, some countries 6 months, Malaysia 1 year, some countries they don't have it. Within 1 year of publication, you still can file patent. This is special for research articles. Within 1 year, they give you grace period. But it's always preferred to file patent first. Then there is grace period allowable to file patent within 1 year of application. But this is applied in Malaysia. Some countries they have it 6 months only. Some countries they don't have grace period at all. Once you publish, done, cannot patent. So always better you file first, then you patent, and then you publish. No, no conflict between patent and publication. Yes. Yes.
So who's going to pay for that?
In UAE, IIUM will pay. Is it? Yeah, I will mute myself.
Okay, everyone. Okay, Assalamualaikum. There's one question here. Who's going to bear the cost? Actually, our intention is as administrative parts, we intend the inventors to help us in drafting the patent specification alone. Only that part. The rest we will do for you, inshallah. So no issue on who's
Okay, if there, yes. This one need to discuss with Dr. Farah. Are you, anyone will review, or you will ask agent to review it for you, or just submit? Just submit. I think this one, as I mentioned, my idea for this one is better if IIUM will prioritize which patents with high commercial value to be sent for agent or reviewed by agent, so that it will give more actually accurate specification. We need to prioritize, but if you think, if you feel it's sufficient, it's okay to just file. And just remember that there is no way to change it after that. So when you file it, it must be in its complete form. There is some tips later. Tomorrow we will learn how to expand your patent. Okay, I think we can take 10 minutes break since we have some time until. Okay, we got some refreshment and we will be back at 10:30. We move to but inshallah we book our time in festival. Inshallah. So, yeah. By 20 next, at the end we got it. No, I'm actually not. Just want to stay some time until we find it. Later, I'd like to go to Peter, please. It's been safe now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So we continue our training today. The second now is patent overview of the patent system in Malaysia. So this is more on the Patent Act, the law of patent in Malaysia. Okay, so this is something we need to understand. Okay, just to share before that, our reference for this this module, this slides is the Patent Act. We already seen the Patent Act. Actually, it's downloadable from MyIPO website. So this is the Patent Act. So I already summarize it in the slides, but if you want the detailed information, you should go back to check what is written here, because I cut some phrases that become hard to, I mean, a bit difficult. So here you can find all the act related to the Patent Act novelty, the utility innovations, the time, the application, when it become withdrawn, and all of these. Okay. By incidents, we come to this one, which we discussed before, inventions by government employee. So you can see it's already written in the Patent Act here. Okay, the duration and all these you can find in this. And it's 87 pages, maybe actively 50 or 60 pages, something like this. Okay, so always no. Some of them you can skip quickly because, like applying patent outside Malaysia, all this part, if you are not interested in that, would skip it directly. So focus on the one you go from page by page, but just take the parts that you is related to you. Some parts is not really related to us at all. So first of all, the patent right, we need to understand it's an exclusory only. Okay, just introduction here. We have several very strange words we need to be familiar with. They are not of our research familiar. We are not familiar with such words, but this is used in patent because the patent actually is part between science and law. So something related to science, which is very easy for us to understand. There's some part related to law. We just need to follow because it's not our scope. Unfortunately, the people from law, they are really file patent because their scope is not under patent. But people under science file patent, but they need to know law. So this is the problem here. And this is why you find not many people interested in knowing about patent and filing patent by themselves. Because you need to know something about law. Okay, a patent does not give the owner the exclusive right to make, use, or sell an invention. This is what we discussed before. When you file the patent and you granted the patent, you still not actually have the right to use it, sell it, or make something from it. This is very important. It gives its owner the right to exclude others from making, using, or selling what is exactly covered by the patent. Can exclude others from using your patent, but you still don't have the right to use it yourself. A holder of a prior patent with a broader claim may prevent the inventor whose patent has narrower claim from using the inventor own patent. Okay, I think we already discussed this one in the beginning. You can patent. Once you patent, you own the patent, you are granted a patent. You have the right to exclude others from using your patent, but you still don't have the right to use it until you make sure it's not infringing. Infringing means breaking others' patents with broader scope. Okay. For example, you just try to take some examples. Just remember, Dr. Farah, product coffee is it? Some kind of coffee. Okay. It has coffee. So, for example, Dr. Farah got a patent for her product, but there is a previous patent still effective for using coffee as a drink. So, Dr. Farah cannot market her product because it's infringing that patent for anyone using coffee. Dr. Farah got a patent for using coffee with other mixtures. Granted the patent because something new, novel, or whatever. Granted the patent, but she still cannot use it until she gets license from the previous patent, who is on a patent for using coffee. Okay, so someone, for example, this is an example, someone file a patent for using coffee as a drink. So anyone use coffee need to get license from that one. Then you make a coffee with other add-ons, other mixture, you can be granted a patent, but you cannot use it until you get license from that one. Okay, so this is the meaning. And you can exclude others from using your product itself. So the one that who want to use your product, they need to get two licenses. One from you, one from the previous one, broader scope. Is it clear? Because this is a very common misconception about patent, right? Sorry. No, this is your, yes, this is also you need to pay patent agent to do search freedom of marketing, freedom of commercialization. I forgot the name of the search type. To check if you are infringing other patents or no. Usually you can do it yourself, but if you are not confident, you need to pay a patent agent to do it yourself, to do it for you. He will tell you if you need to get license from others or not. So if you don't need this, no need. But if you are still infringing patent, that is still effective, because if it's the patent that you are part of that wider scope, it's already finished the protection time of 20 years. So basically you don't need to get a license. No need. Freedom to operate, I think. Freedom to operate. Something like this, yeah. So this is another search different from patent search. Patent search is only for granting the patent, not for using it. Yes? Yes, you can license to so many people. It's like renting your property to use, but it's can license to several people. Okay. So as we mentioned before, the patent is kind of MOU between you and the government. You disclose everything. They give you protection for and monopoly for 20 years. After 20 years, it becomes public. Anyone can use it. Anyone can copy it without referring back to you. This is why you need to disclose it in a way sufficient for someone in the field to make it without referring back to you at all. It's not like publication. You need to disclose further and more details. So this is the concept of patent. And I think it's you are very familiar with the generic drugs. When the innovator finishes the protection time, 20 years, then anyone can make that product without getting the license from the innovator. This is very common. Now, anyone can do paracetamol tablet without getting any license from the innovator, the original one, Panadol or whatever, because it's already lapsed there, already, sorry, the time is already over. The protection time is already over. So become public. Okay, so this is a social contract implicit in the patent system. Reveal the invention, we give you exclusivity. So later, anyone or others will learn from your patent and improve it. So the patent system actually, you can see the more nations that apply patents, they are more innovative, because the patent actually is a system for improvement. They will give you protection, yes, 20 years, but after that become public, someone else will come and improve it. And later someone else will come and improve it. So it become continuously improving. And the first time I come to know the patent, I feel it's kind of really a bad system. It's a monopoly system, but actually it's not. I'll give you one example of why it's not a monopoly system. Take, for example, I think it's very common, drugs, medications, it's my field. You can see that, for example, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, the ibuprofen, the diclofenac, and mefenamic acid, they are continuously improving. Is it every time we came to the market with new products? Because they can, the one that the companies get, they know they will get monopoly for some time, 20 years. So they will have some, whatever invested, it will return back during this monopoly time, before it become available for public and other companies to copy it. But take, for example, the traditional medicine. We have Proftahir, what is the most active ingredients you like, and very effective anti-cancer, whatever. You have several ingredients, I know. Which one is your preferred? Preferred API, ingredients. Resveratrol, anti-cancer. Anti-cancer? Mangosteen. Mangis. Vincristine. Vincristine is already extracted. But the one that there's others like mangosteen? Beta mangosteen. Is there any product available as tablet or no? But you believe it's better than several drugs available, is it? You are very confident. Yes. I am also very confident. I work with timokinone as well. It's really very good and safety is very high. This is the problem. Why there is no product from these very highly effective and safe products? Because no company interested to do. There is no monopoly. Yes, because if you want to complete it as a drug, you need to go for clinical trials, and it's very costly. And once you got it, and you got all the evidence, and you got the product, anyone can do it. You will not get monopoly. This is why you can find no pharmaceutical company interested to do this product, because there is no monopoly. If they know that they got monopoly, they will invest in it. And I can't find like curcumin, timokinone, alpha-mangosteen, beta-mangosteen, other products. I think many other products, traditionally the extracted one, they are very effective, very safe, but there is no products commercially available. If they are available, they are available as traditional medicine without proven clinical trials. But we all believe they are really effective. But no company interested, because they will not get monopoly. They will spend for clinical trials. At the end, another company will directly commercialize. So you can see Assalamu alaikum. So you can see how important it is to give this exclusivity right. Provided that you reveal the invention, you get some exclusivity for some time, and then you will get continuous enforcement. But this is a bit different from the products that are chemically synthesized. This is traditionally extracted because they are available. But the one that you'll see it's different from the chemically synthesized one. That one they get exclusivity. This is why they are continuously improving. This one, the patent tag, you already see the book. Okay, first, the definition of patent. A patent is an exclusive right granted for an invention, which is a product or a process that provides a new way for doing something, offer a new technical solution to a problem. So it's considered actually as an intangible property or intangible asset. It's like a property exactly. And usually we have two types, either a product or process. Either product like system or product or device or something, or a process method use of something. So basically there's two types of patents. To solve a problem usually in the industry. So a patent is a property and intangible asset. Sometimes I think when the more knowledge in the nation become about patents, I think now it's already available for some banks. They can give loan if you have a patent. I hear some banks apply this one between the big banks because it's very well understood that patent is a property. Like if you have a house, you can get a loan for a house, loan for a car. You can get, if you have patent, you can get a loan for that patent to commercialize it. It's become like a property. The utility innovation, in Malaysia we name it utility innovation. Some other countries, they have different names. Some of them name it small patent, petite patent, and some other names, but all actually the similar concept, utility innovation. Utility innovation is an exclusive right granted for a minor invention, which does not require to satisfy the test of inventiveness as required of the patent. For patent, we have three requirements. For utility innovation, only two. We will see them after. So utility innovation is a smaller patent. So any innovation which creates a new product or process, or any new improvement of non-product or process which is capable of industrial application and include an invention. So if your invention is not satisfied to the patent, you may apply for utility innovation. And sometimes after the examiner report, they will ask you to convert, or they will suggest you to convert patent to utility innovation if they are not satisfied of being patentable. Patent and certificate for utility innovation cannot both be granted for the same invention. So it's either this or this. You cannot get both of them. Sometimes you have no more options. You need to agree, because if you can defend yourself that it's patentable in the reply to the examiner, you still continue as patent, can be granted. If you cannot reply, you agree to the change to utility innovation. Requested to convert to If in Malaysia, patent and utility innovation has same protection. So if you want to go quickly and you don't mind to convert it to utility innovation, just convert. Yeah. Yes, usually when we use the patent agent, they will give you patent search, patentability search. They will suggest, is it patentable, is it non-patentable, or patentable, suitable for patent or utility innovation. Submit UI directly. Because for the examiner, UI for examiner, of course, much easier than patent. You just need to prove it's new. If you want, then you need to provide the inventive step. You need there is the examination after 18 months. After 18 months, but after the examination, either refuse or grant, or there is communication. I mean, adverse report, you call it adverse report, then you need to reply. Because adverse report, mostly they will tell you it's not patentable at all. Most of the time they will tell you not patentable. Then you need to defend that it's patentable. I later will share some of the communication. Because even the communication, basically the patent agent will send you to reply. I reply myself, they will just formalize it after that. Because you know the patent more than the patent agent. They will send you how to reply to this one. You write your reply, they will formalize it in a report, but you find it's your writing. Not change much. Because there's some tips and tricks they know better. I mean, there's some words we will see them later in the drafting. One word or the use of a or the will widen the scope or narrowing the scope. Or sometimes you add a small part you think it's important, but basically you restrict your patent. We will tomorrow we will understand how a very small thing will basically kill your patent. Just very quick, just to even outside this one. This the example is there. Like if you take the tea bag, the tea bag. If you want to patent this one, what do you want to say? A tea bag composed of what? Yes. Crushed tea and the bag and the tie and the brand sticker. You think this is very good, is it? Okay. I am another competitor. I come with the tea bag that doesn't have the sting, it's just the filter. You cannot do anything for me. I'm not infringing your patent because your patent has the sting. I don't have sting, there's a string. So basically, you cannot do anything for me. This is some of the small trick. You added unnecessary element. So basically, you give everything to them, but you teach them how to not infringe it. Because the core is actually the tea and the filter. Other than that, actually extra. So if you put extra thing, basically you you put something unnecessary. If I am another manufacturer and make a tea bag without the dye, you cannot do anything. You cannot take me to the court. You cannot do anything. It's a different product. So this is why some tricks come. So we will learn something here, but of course, the one who practice more, they will know more. So basically, you lose your patent because of this small element. Yes, it was any question? The meaning of invention. An invention means an idea of an inventor which permits in practice the solution to a specific problem in the field of technology. So basically, the invention is something, a new idea to solve some problem in the industry. I think this is very clear. So the invention may be or may relate to product or process. So always in patent, we distinguish product and process. Okay, so here is the important part. Patentable inventions need to be new, involve an inventive step, and industrially applicable. So need to apply these 3 criteria in order to get something patentable. For utility innovation, we need only 2 criteria, new and industrially applicable. Industrially applicable is not really a big problem because almost everything we do is industrially applicable. You will not get, I never see a comment about industrially applicable. The comments come from these 2. No new, or we call it novel, and involve inventive step. So if you cannot prove inventive step, then better to go for utility innovation, which only need new and industrially applicable. So here is the difference between patent and utility innovation. The first application is the first requirement is the novelty, or novelty means simply something new. Okay? These are also sometimes we need to distinguish between them in the patent. Invention, novel, inventive step, they are different meanings. Invention means everything new idea is called invention. Novel means something new. Inventive step basically is something more than not only new, something not obvious, we call it. So for novelty, an inventive is new if it's not anticipated by what we call prior art. So if something not available in the prior art, we call it novel or new. So what is a prior art? Prior art is everything disclosed to the public, anywhere in the world, by written publication or oral disclosure, by use, or any other way. This doctor here said for the system, by use also consider prior art. Prior to the priority date of the patent application claiming in the invention. So anything disclosed to the public or available to the public, they can access, they can know, they can prove it's there, it's considered prior art. Before the time of, we call it priority date. Priority date simply, just to avoid confusion, is your filing date. When you file your patent, is the priority date. Anything before that is considered prior art. So novel means it's new to the everything available before you file. It should not be anticipated by prior art, meaning that if you, it's here need to be just something clear, similar exactly in the prior art. So if it's available in the prior art, basically it kills all the patent. You cannot apply patent, you cannot apply utility innovation. This is a grace period, specifically for something like scientific publication, posters in the conference, and so on. A disclosure made under paragraph 2, what this is refers to the law. So sometimes I keep, sometimes I remove. If you see this such one, this is from the law, because this is the kind of how they write it. Shall disregard it if such disclosure occurred within 1 year preceding the date of the patent application. So here, where we mention, if you came and you publish your article make sure after it's available online, the data is available online, within 1 year, you should file a patent. This is specifically for Malaysia, other countries different. Okay, but the practice is always better you patent first, then you publish. The inventive step would not have been obvious to a person having ordinary skill in the art. The most difficult part in the patent system is inventive step. Because novelty is not very big problem, because as far it's different from the prior art, it's considered novel or new. But inventive step is really very difficult. And most of the communication with the examiner is about inventive step, because it's also subjective, very subjective. Maybe this one think it's inventive, this one think it's not inventive. So based on the discussion and how you prove it, how you convince the examiner, you will get it patented or not. So it's not obvious to a person having ordinary skill in the art. So someone from your field should not be able to do it using prior art. Okay? So here he can use teaching from prior art, small twisting. If by simple twisting something, then it comes to your invention. Your invention is not inventive, doesn't have inventive step. Yes, if it's available, published in the website or something, yes. Anything available to the public is considered prior art. Video on YouTube, this is also very important when you share your daily things in the lab, in the YouTube or in the TikTok. These are considered prior art. Videos on Facebook, post in Facebook, post in YouTube, in TikTok, in any social media, these all considered prior art. As we mentioned, there is one story is quite known. One company wanted to invent a method of taking out the sink or the sunk ship using like, I think, balloon filled up with air. They throw maybe balls. They throw balls filled up with air inside the ship, then it will float. So they want to invent this method to patent it, but it was actually not accepted. Why? There is one in the comic book for children. There is similar drawing in a comic book just for kids, and this drawing killed the patentability. Because, and this is not for novelty, it's for inventive step. Because anyone in this, if you read this one, anyone skilled in this field can see that one and apply it to the ship, and it's considered now not having inventive step. You need to be very careful about this one, and it's the most difficult part in patent is inventive step. Industrially or industrial application, an invention shall be considered industrially applicable if it can be made or used in any kind of industry. Usually it's not a big problem, because whatever we do usually has industrial application. Rarely to find a problem with this one. The flow of patent application, I think this one we already discussed it before, and this one as well. Okay, these are some now laws for application. Application procedure for grant and duration. Applicant by residents to be filed in Malaysia first. Son Dr. Hilal's question. No person resident in Malaysia shall, without written authority granted by the registrar. Registrar is the one that in the MyIPO, when to receive your application. File or cause to be filed outside Malaysia an application for a patent for an invention unless an application for a patent for the same invention has been filed patent registration office not less than 2 months before the application outside Malaysia. If you want to patent outside Malaysia, you need to file first in Malaysia. After 2 months, you can file outside Malaysia. This is the summary of this one. You cannot file directly outside Malaysia. You need to file first in Malaysia. After 2 months, you can file outside. Okay? So if you are thinking about filing outside, I'm not sure if we come here, but you need to know that patent is a territorially concept. What is patent in Malaysia is not applicable in Thailand. If you want protection in Thailand, you need to file patent in Thailand as well. If you want protection in India, you need to file also in India. Wherever you want protection, you need to file there. So when you are granted a patent in Malaysia, you are only authorized to sue others in Malaysia only. So if someone in Thailand is doing it, is making your product, actually you cannot sue it until you file also in Thailand. And here it comes to that 18-month. You remember this 18-month waiting? Because you have internationally almost, I think is 1 year. Within 1 year, you can file the same patent in other countries. And you can use the same priority date filed in Malaysia. I filed in Malaysia in January. After 2 months, I'm allowed to file in other countries. So in March, I can file in Thailand. But when I file in Thailand, the priority date, the filing date in Thailand in March, but priority date, because protection starts from priority date, I still can use the priority date of Malaysia, which is January. So the simple concept, priority date and filing date is same. When you want to apply, they are same. But here they are different. This is a case where they are different. You file in Thailand in March, but you are using priority date of Malaysia because you are allowed to do so. There's some international agreements about this and same ASEAN agreements and so on. You have 1 year to file in other countries within 1 year. This is why they wait for you 18 months. So this 18 months is basically quite similar. I think in all over the world, they have this waiting. So there is no way to make patent very fast. You need to wait. You need to wait this one. They give you this time to file anywhere else in the world. And basically similar. There is some agreements between countries. Like there is the most widely used is called PCT, Paris Convention Treaty, PCT. But this one is very costly. This one you can do one examination only and file in so many countries later. There is another pathway for that one, but that one also follow the same thing. You need to file first in Malaysia. Then it will cost you a lot, like maybe about 10,000 ringgit for the filing only. I think not commonly to go for that one because it's very costly. If you are going to file less than about 5 countries, better to do and file it individually. More than that, go for PCT, become cheaper. But when you want to file in 2 or 3 countries only, just file individually in each country. Usually, like in Malaysia, if you are not resident in Malaysia, you need to use patent agent to file for you. I'm not sure in other countries, maybe in Thailand also you cannot file by yourself. You need to hire a patent agent because you are not resident in Thailand. But in Malaysia, if someone not Malaysian and not resident in Malaysia, they need to file in Malaysia, they need to use patent agent compulsory. They cannot do it yourself. Same for you, but you can maybe hire a patent agent to file for you in Thailand. There is ASEAN agreement to share the patent search and patent examination. If the patent examination have been done in Malaysia, maybe in Thailand, they will accept it quickly. They will not repeat it substantively like here. But there's some agreement in Asian countries. Okay, so this one, you need to know this kind of rules. In the patent, MyIPO website, they are available. I'll show you later. Yes, Dr. No, they follow the same pathway for patent, other patents. No. Same. You need to file in each country. You need to file in each country. Each country you seek protection, you need to file. But if you are confident no one is will go to do it there, basically, I mean, like if you are a manufacturer or innovator, you think specific country will not be able to produce your product, you need to file there because they will not be able to do it. These PCTs and EPO, what you call the IPO, International Patent Organization or International something organization. The first concept comes to mind, if you file there, you think it's protected globally. No. You file in IPO, it's not protected globally, but it becomes easier for you to file in other countries because they can use the examination report there, and they will grant you quickly. But you still need to file in each country. Also, if you still can export, no problem, can export. No, but if you like, if you file the patent in Malaysia and someone want to export your product that manufactured in China to Malaysia, then you can stop them. Like you make a patent in Malaysia for a device, but you didn't file in China. Some Chinese companies, they copy it and manufacture it. You cannot sue them because you didn't file patent in China. You are not protected in China. But you can stop them from exporting to Malaysia, only Malaysia. They cannot market this product in Malaysia. So this is the territory. They cannot be coming here because you have protection in this country. But you can export to any country even though you don't have protection there. It's just a normal trade. You can export. But someone there, if not protected, they can copy and make similar product. You cannot sue them until you file a patent there. And you remember you have 1 year to file the patent in that country. Okay, withdrawal of application. An application may withdraw his application. An applicant may withdraw his application at any time during its pendency by submitting a declaration in the prescribed form to the registrar, and such withdrawal may not be revoked. Usually within the 18 months, you can withdraw your application in the first 18 months. The unity of invention. An application shall relate to one invention only or to a group of inventions so links as to form a single general inventive concept. So this is also important. If you have invention, but the scope is quite wide and different, you need to file patent for each one. So you cannot use this one for saving cost, actually. You cannot, this one. There is one thing is allowable, is a product and the process. Combine a product and the process patent, yes, can. Meaning that you have a product for device, something, then a process to use this product and how to use it, you can combine this product and process in one patent, yes. But if the scope is different, a device for example, cooking and a device for agriculture, so very far, even though a bit similar they look, but the scope is far, you need to file one patent, this one patent for this. Amendment of application. The applicant may amend the application provided that the amendment shall not go beyond the disclosure of the initial application. Amendment usually is only on format and deleting some paragraphs after the examination and so on. You cannot go beyond the initial application. We call it the subject matter. You cannot go beyond the subject matter you put it in the first application. So you need easy to understand that whatever you apply, that is final. You cannot add any example, you cannot add widen the scope, you cannot. You may restrict based on the report from the examiner, but you cannot widen or add something, you cannot. Division of application. The applicant may, within the prescribed time, divide the application into 2 or more, provided that each divisional application shall not go beyond that disclosure of the initial same. So you can divide it into 2 or more, but each individual should not go beyond the initial application. Usually this one will be suggested by the examiner. Each division shall be entitled to the priority date of the initial application. So you can still claim the first time you file as a priority date. Why we always concerned about priority date? Because of the invalidation of patent. Because the examiner will search only until the date of priority date. They will not search after that. This is why if you publish after the priority date, there is no problem. The examiner will not look after the priority date, but they will find your publication if it's before the priority date. And even though it's your publication, but it's killing your patent itself. So don't think that it's your application, you own the application and you own the patent, you cannot. Once you publish, it's become prior art to yourself, to your application itself. Even a previous patent is considered prior art to your patent also. So it's not like you own your previous patents and you can add more on them and so on. Your previous patent is a prior art to your second patent later. Your previous publication is prior art to your publication, your patent as well. It's not necessary to be something from outside or strangers. Yourself can kill your own patent. Right of priority. An application may contain a declaration claiming the priority pursuant to any international treaty or convention or one or more earlier national, regional, or international applicant filed during the period of 12 months immediately preceding the filing date of application. The applicant in the title of any party to the said international treaty. Okay. So this is the meaning. Within 12 months of the application, you can file in another country and you still can claim the priority date of the first application. So you keep the priority date of the first application. And here, whereas the filing date and priority date become different. But in general practice, normal practice, I think majority will go for priority date is your filing date. When you go to file, that is your priority date. The priority date of an application of patent is the filing date of the application. When an application contains the declaration mentioned, the priority date of the applicant shall be the filing date of earliest application. Okay, I think clear now. Filing date, the registrar shall record as the filing date the date of receipt of the application, provided that the application contains the name and address of the applicant inside the form, the name and address of the inventor. We understand that applicant is different from the inventor, maybe same, maybe different, but as an employee, the applicant will be the employer, the inventor is you. Description, a claim or claims, which is the drafting of the patent, that at the time of receipt of application, the prescribed fees has been paid, and the fees. When you submit these documents, then you will get the filing date from the registrar. even though there will be a preliminary examination to check if they are within the correct format or something missing or no. You need to reply within 3 months, but your filing date is already, you got your filing date. It's very important. Most people seek this filing date, because your protection starts from there. Start from there, and no infringement or no prior art after the filing date. And if you are competing as competitor, you always seek to file first. Because if you file first in 1 day, you protect yourself against your competitor. They cannot do something similar. Okay, after we file, we go for the preliminary examination. As you mentioned, is more as the format and technical. When an application for patent has a filing date and it's not withdrawn, the registrar shall examine the application and determine whether it complies with the requirement of this act and regulations made under this act, which are designated by such regulation as formal requirements for the purpose of this act. If the registrar, as a result of the examination, finds that not all the formal requirements are complied with, he shall give an opportunity to the applicant to make an observation and to amend the applicant within the prescribed period, which is usually 3 months, so as to comply with those requirements. I think we already explained this one in the flow chart. Okay, request for now, after everything, we got the priority date, the filing date, preliminary examination passed, and everything settled with the registrar. We go for substantive examination or modified substantive examination, which within 18 months. If an application for a patent has been examined under Section 29 and not withdrawn, the applicant shall file within the prescribed period, which is here now, it's 18 months, a request for a substantive examination of the application. Okay, if a patent or other title of industrial property protection has been granted to the applicant in a country outside Malaysia, then he needs to submit actually a request for modified substantive examination. So for you, if you are a new patent, you need to submit the form request for substantive examination. The modified substantive examination is not for you. It's the one that was filed patent outside Malaysia. And they want to file patent also in Malaysia. They request another form called request for modified substantive examination. Because this one, if there is an agreement and treaty between the two countries, the examiner here doesn't need to go directly for full examination. They can actually request the examination report from that country and use it as a basis to grant your application. This is why we call it modified substantive examination. If the applicant fails to file either a request under subsection A or modified substantive examination or modified substantive examination within the 18 months, the applicant for the patent shall be deemed to be withdrawn at the end of that period. Okay, after 18 months, it will be deemed withdrawn. These words you need to be familiar with, because later when you open the MyIPO website and search, you see these terms. The patent, what is this? Patent something refused, granted, rejected, or deemed withdrawn, lapsed. So deemed withdrawn mean this one. Okay, so if you didn't submit the request for substantive examination, you will see that after 18 months written deemed withdrawn. Okay, of course, there's always some exceptions. Registrar may, upon the request of applicant, grant a deferment of filing of a request for examination. Okay, this one, if you want the more details, you can read it in the act. I will read it right here. But here also, if I think this one, because Dr. Farah is interested in this one, you may refer back to the law. You can defer the examination. For example, within 18 months, you are still negotiating for the licensing. You didn't finalize, not decide to request examination or no, then request deferment. I think they grant you until 5 years. I'm not, if not mistaken. Not mistaken. Not sure. But they will grant you some deferment with small fees, not big fees. Then you will still have more time to check if you want to proceed or not. So there is option for deferment. But remember to submit this one before 18 months. Before 18 months. Expedited examination. After request for examination, okay, you request examination first. You need to pay that fees, 1,100. And after the 18 months, you can file Form 5H to request for approval or for expedited examination. Then they will either approve your request or no. This form, the fee is not much, it's 200 something. It's only to request for approval, not for the expedited examination itself. So they will see if you are entitled or no. The criteria here to be entitled for expedited examination, national or public interest, infringement proceeding, if someone is infringing your patent and you really want to see if it's will be granted or not, so that you can take action against them, then you can request expedited. Commercialize of the invention, you want to go quickly for commercialization, or someone else want to license it to obtain monetary benefit, licensing or something. Green technology, something like new and national interest, for example, now green technology, then you can request expedited. Other reasonable ground, so you need to convince the registrar that you are entitled for expedited examination. This one, they will give you approval or you are entitled. Then you can file the second form, 5I. You file the form 5I, the request for expedited examination, and you need to pay 2,200. So example, remember now the total fees become the filing fees, which is roughly below 500 filing fees in the beginning. Then within 18 months, you need to request for substantive examination, 1,100. Then if you want to go for expedited, you need to pay the 5H, 250 plus 2,200 for the 5I. So these are the fees for expedited, total fees become for expedited. So there is about 2,500 extra to the normal fees. Okay, just before we exit this one, just a very important reminder, you need to submit the request for examination first. After that, you submit for examination, expedited. So within the 18 months, you still need to submit the request for examination, substantive examination first. Then after the 18 months, you can request for expedited. Okay, you cannot directly request for expedited. You need to request for the examination first, using the normal flow. After 18 months, go to request for expedited. Grant of patent. The certificate of the grant of the patent and a copy of the patent together with a copy of the examiner final report will be published in the Gazette, a reference to the grant of the patent. So as I mentioned, Malaysia, they will publish the bibliography information only, and that this patent was granted or not, but they will not publish the content. We call them the specification. You cannot see what is written there, the claims and so on, until you go to the MyIPO. I'm not sure if your content can accept the request. Usually you need to go to the MyIPO office and you pay the fees, 20 ringgit maybe, something like this, and you can request any patent. But you can access the bibliographic information, which I can show you. I can access it now from my website. To request complete specification of any patent. Because maybe when you want to search for your own patent, you find someone in UMP have a similar title. You want to see what is the content of their patent, then you need to request the full patent from MyIPO office. In other countries, like in US, in Europe, they publish everything. After the 18 months, everything will be published. But in Malaysia, we still need to get it from the MyIPO office. This is why Malaysian patent, they are not yet part in Google patent. You will not find it because it's not published. But you can find US patents, European patents, Korean patents, Japanese patents in Google patents. But Malaysian patents, you cannot find them there. You need to search MyIPO website itself. It's make available to the public on payment of prescribed fees, copies of the patent. Public inspection. The registrar shall make available for public inspection after the 18 months from the priority date of filing the patent application and payment of the prescribed fees, usually small fees only. The name, address, description of the applicant, the name and address of his agent, the application number, the filing date, the priority date. Basically, they can request all the details of the patent after the 18 months. Even though it's not granted, because after 18 months, it will appear in my website. Okay. Then if you are interested to know what is the content, anyone can request to know this one. I think it's good if you can see it. Okay, in MyIPO website, you can basically you can make a free account. This one, if you want to search and so on, you can just make a free account. So you can search patents, trademarks, copyright, and so on. So go for patent, search patent registrar, register. So either by case number, like the patent application number, or just the title. And there is advanced search also. If you can look for something, anyone want to search for something? Are you interested in? Coffee weight loss. Okay, so you can see the patent number, the title, then the filing date, the status. You can see here the refuse, withdrawn, definitely lapsed, refuse, lapse. Later we will see what is the meaning of lapse, withdrawn, end of protection, become available for public. Withdrawn, lapse, withdrawn, end of protection, refuse, end of protection. Yes. Because after you didn't pay, you can still, after few months, to pay back with the summon, but definitely a penalty, but definitely lapse cannot. So you can see this granted. So I can't see here, but this is the terms that you can find. So the one that we are talking about now, you can we know what is the meaning of withdrawn and deemed. I think we mentioned another term. What is that name? Deemed withdrawn. Okay, so if you want to open anyone, for example, this patent, so what you find in the published information, you can find the bibliography information, the dates, datas, the agent, the applicant, the owner, the correspondence is the one that usually is the here where the communication goes, the agent usually or yourself. Some information about the patent, the inventors. Nothing in the disclosure because you cannot access. You can find the abstract, number of claims and so on. You cannot find here the complete specification. So only this information you can get from the published one. This one will be available for public after 18 months. After you file 18 months, you can access this information. So if you are interested in this patent, you need to go to MyIPO and request this patent with payment of small fees. They will give you the full application. Regardless of the status, after 18 months, is available for public. Okay, public inspection, continue. The particulars of the application, including the description, claims, and so on. This one they can get any changes of the ownership and so on. So basically, you can get full information about the application after 18 months. But in other countries, these all available for public directly from the search, free of charge. Patent application shall not be made available for public inspection if, so this is the exception, the patent application is withdrawn or refused or deemed to be withdrawn or refused before the expiry of the period of 18 months from the priority date or filing date of the patent application. So if you submit the application, withdrawal application before the 18 months, they will not publish it. And by this way, it will not become a priority art, prior art for you. This is what the trick some companies do. Before the 18 months, they submit. If they see that no competitor have done their product, they submit withdrawal. Then it will not be published. Then they can submit it again. But here, if you just keep it, I think this one need to know it. If you didn't submit the withdrawal, then it will be published. Then you cannot submit it again, even though it will be refused because you didn't pay the fees, but it will be published. This is the problem. It's to become prior art for your, if you want to submit again, it become prior art for you. You cannot, because it will become available for public. So if you are decided to not proceed, then submit withdrawal. It appears to the registrar that the application contains information contravened the public order or morality. Information related to a patent application may be inspected only with the written permission of the patent applicant if the information is requested within the 18 months from the priority date or filing date. So before 18 months, no one can access the information other than the applicant with a written permission. Like now, for example, if I submit the application, but I left for UAE already, the UAE want to know what is inside the application, then they can actually request before the 18 months because they are the applicant. But anyone else cannot need to wait 18 months. Public inspection continue after an application is made available for public inspection. An applicant may, in writing, warn a person who has commercially or industrially worked the invention, which is the subject matter of his application. Okay, so after this 18 months, you can start basically where the competitors who you think they used your application. Okay, you cannot do this before the 18 months, like being officially. After 18 months, you can start warning the others who they used your application. Of course, they use it after your priority date. If they use it before your priority date, you cannot do anything. But after your priority date, because your protection starts from the priority date. After the priority date, and after the 18 months, you can start warning others who used your application after the priority date. An applicant may demand that a person who has commercially or industrially worked the invention to pay a compensation to the applicant in respect of the invention, an amount equivalent to what would have normally received for the working of the invention. You can also request the compensation. This is usually happened by agreement and some deals between the, we call it the infringer, the one that who used your application without permission, and between you, they agree on specific compensation. But this one, basically, usually the compensation happen only after granting, because you are still not sure granted or no. If granted, yes, you are entitled for compensation. But if it's not granted, you cannot do anything. You cannot request this compensation. The right to demand compensation as provided for the subsection 6 shall be exercised only after the grant of the application. Okay, so warning can be after 18 months, but compensation is not practiced until the granting. Because when a patent application is withdrawn or refused, after it's made available for public inspection, the right under the subsection 6 shall be deemed never to have existed, meaning that you cannot take any compensation if the patent is not granted. Usually, you can use it as a power to stop others from doing it, because if someone is using your application, they will be like worried if it's granted, they will pay you a lot of compensation. So people, they will, you can send this warning letter after 18 months to stop them from using your invention. The duration of the invention or the patent, it's 20 years from the filing date of the application. For utility innovations, is 10 years, but subject to extension 5 plus 5. Okay, so originally 10 plus 5 plus 5 by request for extension. Patent directly 20 years without any request for extension from the filing date. And this is for pharmaceutical and chemical people. Usually this is a somehow problem, because usually we do not get benefit from really 20 years. 20 years is the filing date. So the filing date is the date where we synthesize the new chemical compound and we see that it has a potential. We file the patent. But after that, it needs to go through studies, in vitro studies, in vivo studies, clinical trials, which take about 8 years. After that, it will be commercialized. So basically what is left is just about 10 years or sometimes less. So, but 20 years is not from the granting date, it's from the filing date. Okay, so remember this. Granting sometimes take 15 years. You see, in some applications in US, because the visual thing, sometimes granting take 10 years, 15 years. But the duration is from the filing date. So left only 5 years protection. Yes. After granting. Maintenance after granting. Patent, no. No way. 20 years, final. No way. But in pharmaceutical technology, we have tricks to do this. Before the expiry, they come up with a new formulation, reformulation, and they extend another 20 years, but not for the compound itself, but for the new formulation. And this is why you found we have Panadol. After that, we have Panadol Extra, we have Panadol Soluble, we have Panadol Actifaz. Actually, the technology to do them is available 40 years back, but they want to extend the protection and the benefit. So before the expiry, they come up with a new formulation. So the new patent is not for the compound, but for the formulation itself. The compound itself become public. Others can copy it. But in pharmacy, they can copy the old formulation. Because we have regulation for the formulation itself as well. Then to develop the new formulation, similar to the new formulation, for example, Panadol Soluble, they will take few years, other copycats, I mean the generic companies. Then after maybe they will start doing that one, they will come up with a new formulation, Actifaz. And they come up with Panadol, whatever. And we have also some, Panadol is very clear example. Some others, they come up with, they reformulate it in a form of microencapsulation, nanotechnology, extended release. But by this way, pharmaceutical companies extend their benefit. Can be patented, but in terms of how far you can protect it, it's a different story. Can be patented. But as mentioned, you may not be able to protect much yourself, but it can be patented. Molecule cannot, because the molecule belongs to the old patent. But it becomes public, then you can use it for in your new formulation. Can be patented. Yes. Directly after the filing date, the next day you can publish. Because what we call prior art, the prior art, anything until the filing date or the priority date. After that, examiner will not check. Not check. I think there's one point I want to repeat only for Dr. Farah because it's very important. The one that we said you want to file and withdraw if you're not no one interested to continue, you need to submit the request for withdrawal within 18 months, because if you didn't submit the request, MyIPO will publish it. If they publish it, you cannot submit it again if you want to submit it again. So if you decide not MyIPO will not publish the patent online, so it will not be available for public. But if you didn't submit and you already decide not to be used, it will be refused or deemed with refuse or something, but it will be published. And it is published. Yeah, nothing more. Because it will be published, and then if you want to submit something from that scope, it becomes prior art to yourself. Problem. So either withdraw or extend. Submit request to withdraw or extend. Deferment. I forgot, we will not come to this. It's already in that. I forgot that duration. Okay, we have a patent. The patentee intends at the expiration of the second year to keep the same in force. He shall 12 months before the date of expiration of the second and each succeeding year, pay the prescribed annual fees. So this is the call it patent maintenance fees. usually in hundreds of ringgits, and every year is more expensive. First year, second year become more, third year become more, fourth year become more, because they think if you want to keep it, you are making money from it. So they increase the fees. This is like provided, however, that the period of a grace of 6 months shall be allowed after the date of such expiration upon payment of such surcharge. So this is if you didn't pay the fees within the prescribed time, you still have 6 months to pay again, but you need to pay the surcharge or the penalty fees. If the prescribed annual fees is not paid, the patent shall consider lapsed. This is the term that we see in the website, lapse. Lapse mean you are not maintaining it. And a notice of lapsing or for non-payment or any annual fee shall be prescribed in the Gazette. Okay, so the term lapse mean here that you already granted a patent, but you are not paying the maintenance fees. Okay, so there is 6 month allowance to repay it again, and they will return the back to you. But if you after that you didn't pay, it will be definitely lapsed. The one that we see in the many of them in the website, they can definitely lapse. So no way to return it back. Okay, this is also important. Reinstatement of a lapsed patent within 2 years from the date of which a notice of lapsing of a patent is published in the Gazette may apply to registrar in the prescribed form to have the patent reinstated. So, but this was not only paying the penalty fees, need to come with justification, more justification why you didn't pay the fees. The registrar may reinstate a patent upon payment of all annual fees due and a prescribed surcharge of the reinstatement upon being satisfied that the non-payment was due to the accident, mistake, and foreseeable circumstances. So within 2 years, you still can reinstate the patent, but it's not as easy as the first 6 months. But there is also consequences of this one. Where the registrar reinstated a lapsed patent, he shall cause notice of the reinstatement to be published in the Gazette. I think the definitely lapsed is the one that after 2 years, because you still have time to do it. The one that in the website is after these 2 years, because this is the maximum time allowed for you to reinforce your patent. But this the consequences. The reinstatement of a lapsed patent shall not prejudice the rights acquired by third party after it is notified in the Gazette that the patent has lapsed and before it is noticed in the Gazette that the patent has been reinstated. During this time, from the patent published as lapsed to the patent published that reinstated, actually, if third party utilize your patent, you cannot sue them. Okay? Because they follow the law. It's their rights to use it. Okay? No proceeding shall be taken in respect of an infringement of a patent committed after it's noticed in the Gazette that the patent has lapsed and before notified that it's reinstated. So between the lapse publication and reinstated publication, you cannot sue anyone who use your patent. Okay, so this is the consequences of ignoring paying the maintenance fees. Okay. Is it clear between this lapsing and okay? Anyone help me to re-explain the flow chart of this, how the patent can lapse? Okay, we already have patent granted. How to maintain it? The timeline. What is the timeline for the patent to lapse and reinstated. Okay, we granted the patent in 1st January 2023. What will happen after that? To keep the patent effective, we need to pay the maintenance fees before at the end of the expiration of the 2nd year from the granting, meaning that before December 2024, we shall pay the maintenance fees. If we fail to pay the maintenance fees, then we have 6 months to pay again until June 2025 to pay the maintenance fees plus the penalty fees surcharge. If we fail, it will be published in the Gazette as lapse, and you will see it in the register in the MyIPO website lapse. At this time, anyone can use the patent without referring back to you. Okay, anyone can use it. There is no infringement now. It's become available for anyone to use. But within 2 years from the lapsing date, meaning that until June 2027, within this until June 2027, you can submit application to reinstate the patent, to reinforce it under you. But it's not as easy as normal, because you need to convince the registrar that there is a reasonable reason why you didn't pay the fees. If they agree and reinstated it, the patent become enforced again under you. But within this time, between let's say June 2025 and the time it has been reinstated, you cannot take action against anyone who use it within that time. Okay? But after that, it become enforced again. Okay? So this is the maintenance of the patent. Rights of owner of patent. So it's exactly like any property to exploit the patented invention, to assign or transmit the patent, to conduct licensed conduct. Okay, so anything you can do with your patent. You can use it to make a product. You can license it, full license or license to use or something. Anything you can use with your patent. Limitations of rights. The rights under the patent shall extend only to acts done for industrial or commercial purpose, and in particular, not to acts done only for scientific research. This is very important, especially for pharmaceutical people. So usually for rights, for patent, it's commonly not taken against individual. It's mostly against the companies who monetize your patent. And specifically for scientific research, you cannot stop of using it for scientific research. Only for research, not to make money of it. But the right under the patent shall not extend to act done to make, use, or sell a patented invention solely for use reasonably related to the development and submission of information for making drugs. So this is especially for drugs. Why? Because the patent for a new chemical compound, for example, paracetamol, will expire after 20 years, is it? After 20 years exactly, anyone can commercialize any product from paracetamol. But for pharmaceutical to commercialize it needs a lot of study to be done before, for developing the formulation, for generic, doing the stability study, combining the files and submitting it to NBRA and so on. So that will take time, maybe, for example, 3 years. But before 3 years, we are using basically paracetamol, the compound, for making a product without permission. But this is allowed, as far you do not commercialize it until the patent become available for public, finish the protection, the enforcement. So this is why the time that drug patent expire, you see that directly within 1 year, almost many generic companies already start marketing. But we know already they took several years to develop their formulation and registering in FDA. And they got FDA approval, but they do not market until the expiration of the patent. So this is the one that holds the right for the patent. They cannot enforce or prohibit us from developing our product, provided that we do not market it until the expiration of the patent. Okay, so this is more clear for developing drugs. Assignment and transmission of patent applications and patents. A patent application or patent may be assigned or transmitted. Joint ownership of patent application or patents in the absence of any agreement to the contrary between the parties. Joint owners of a patent application or patent may separately assign or transmit their rights to the patent application or patent, exploit the patented invention, or take action against any person exploiting the patented invention without their consent, but may only jointly withdraw the application or surrender the patent or conclude the license contract. So there is when the patent there is joint ownership, then there is something individually can do. For example, selling their own part or licensing their own part or taking action against infringing party, but there is actions to be taken only jointly together, like licensing or withdrawal or surrendering or something like this. It's like any other property. You own part of the property, you have your right to do something with it, but there is something you cannot do until you both together agree on it. Okay, this is a quick overview and patent law in Malaysia. Of course, much more details are in the Patent Act, and especially if you want to go further more than Malaysia, there is all the information in the Patent Act. But this is what concerns patenting inside Malaysia, and I think it's a quite sufficient summary to start understanding the patent and the timeline and how to ways to submit this and withdraw this and so on. Okay. Any question about this part? A lot of information basically available in my website. You can, under the patent, explore a lot of things here. This one you can see the ASEAN Patent Examination Cooperation. This one, the agreement between different ASEAN countries to use the patent report, the examiner report, so become faster to file in several Asian countries. There is one for all over the world, we call it PCT, and there is others also. This one, we call it PCT. Patent Cooperation Treaty filing. So this is another one to file internationally, but it's not cost effective if you want to file in only 2 or 3 countries. If you want to file more than 5 countries, it's become cost effective. And this is the timeline, how to go if you want to go for that one. We have patent prosecution highway. I think this one's quite new for me. Then you can read of course here. So this one, if you file in, if someone file in another country, want to file in Malaysia, but for such case, they must go through patent agent. So if you have a friend file a patent in India, want to file it in Malaysia, they need to go through patent agent. You cannot file on behalf of them or something. Asian Patent Examination Corporation, this one, to share, we're sharing program among 9 countries. The purpose is to share each examination result between these offices so that become faster and easier for them. If it's granted in one office or examined in one office, it's can be used for other offices, then the examination can go faster. Each country need to pay his own fees for each country. We need to pay Malaysian fees, Indonesian fees, the Thailand fees. I'm not sure of other countries, but in Malaysia, if you are Malaysian or anyone reside in Malaysia like me, I can file directly in Malaysia by myself. But if I want to file in Thailand, I'm not sure about Thailand law, if allow me to file there or they need me to go through agent. But if it's same treatment, if one from Thailand file in Thailand want to file in Malaysia, they must go through agent. They cannot directly do it. Okay, any question? No? Invention step. Yes, this one we will discuss it tomorrow, inshallah, because we will see how the claims go and so on. But in general, we call it independent claim. This is the most important part, which need to have the inventive step. The dependent claims usually no need. The dependent claims, but the independent claim must have inventive step. We have independent claim and dependent claims. Dependent claims. Dr. Prof asked if we have more than one claim. Because claims usually we have independent and dependent. Independent claim need to be inventive. Have inventive step. Dependent one, no need. Usually 2-3 claims in one patent, not more. And most commonly in research, one claim, independent claim for product and independent claim for process. Then under the independent claim, we have so many dependent claims. We see what is the meaning literature. Anyone? They can. Yes, current patent they can use. They can manufacture it. They can produce it. If you didn't file in Thailand, you cannot take any action against them. But they cannot file patent for it. They can just use. Because to file a patent, they will find your patent as prior art to them. And they cannot file a patent. Okay, so we go for a break to the house because it's already now about 12:15 until 2. Enough? 2? When you get when you file it, you will get the number PI. Okay. No, you are discussing only with the patent agent. You are discussing only with the patent agent. The result of patentability search. The result of patentability search report. Patentability search report. It's not filed yet. You are just discussing with the patent agent. Nothing went to MyIPO yet. You don't have any filing number yet. It's just between you and the agent. They have done this patentability search report for you. Actually, they charge, I think, some fees for us. 500 for patentability search. They will give you this report. Recommendation to go for UI patent or cannot be patented at all. Okay, so what's the plan? Okay, so so but we break will end on at 2. Okay, so if anyone goes, please come back at 2 to start again. So I'll stop sharing when online and